a good time. Ooh, time to get our craft on. Ooh, time to have fun. Ooh, time to feel good.
Hey Gifted Crafters, welcome back for another Saturday CrafterNoon. Thank you all for tuning in today. Wow, I see a lot of people chatting away in the chat. We've got people from Maryland, California, San Antonio, Texas, Florida, and also from South Florida. Hey Becky, how are you? Okay, so if you're tuning in for the first time, my name is Nancy with GiftsHQ, and we host this weekly live session to just talk about all things crafting, from knitting, crocheting, sewing, embroidery, and just about any kind of craft that I can get my hands on. So if that's something that you're into, you're definitely in the right place. Go ahead and pop into that chat. Say hello to some friends because we like to share all kinds of tips, tricks, and ideas. So before we get started with anything else, let's just pop into the chat and let me say hello to a couple of people I see out there. Alrighty, I see Bernardino. Hey, how are you? Thanks for joining. I see Donna. I see Jenny Owens. I see Judy Bauer. Linda, how are you? And I see 1 Minute Tips and Rebecca Copeland. Hey, how are you again? And I see Robin's Quilt Basket. And I'm not sure if I missed anyone else that it went through the chat here. Oh, I see Karen. Hey, Karen from Scotland. Wow. I am so excited. Thanks for joining from way over in Scotland. I'm so excited to see that you have joined us. Okay, so we've got a jam-packed session because I've got a lot of things that we're going to be touching upon today. So let me just go through a couple of brief announcements. Well, first off, if this is the first time you're tuning in, I am a holiday girl, and I like to kind of point out holidays that may not be on that calendar, but I think they're kind of fun, and it's a great way to keep us all together. So let me just announce what the holidays are for today. So today is, and I think this is one of my son's favorite, it is National Grilled Cheese Day. Yes, he loves grilled cheese. I love grilled cheese. It's just something that, you know, I don't know. I think as a kid, we've always had grilled cheese in the morning, at least on Saturdays. Like that was like our favorite thing to do. And I think it is for my son too. He's become an expert on making grilled cheese sandwiches. And so, you know, when we kind of smell that he's making one, I sometimes will ask him to make me one too, because I really love them. It is also Wear a Star Day. And so we're all stars. So we're just going to be wearing that star today. And on Sunday, it is Scrabble Day. So just wanted to point that out. So if you got some time, pull out that Scrabble game and maybe play a little game with the kids. Okay, so I just want to kind of remind you guys, we pointed this out last week. So we went ahead and we launched our newsletter. So the newsletter is available and out there. Got some good information, a little bit of history on Joann's, which we know our beloved store will be going away very, very soon if they haven't already in your area. And it's got some really good tidbits on that. But I also kind of realized that a lot of people are kind of struggling as to where they're going to be getting their fabrics now. So there is a little listing on there just to kind of get you guys started, at least on some pretty popular ones, or maybe some ones that you didn't know about, where you can go out and get some fabrics, some notions, patterns, and things like that. So a nice little list out there. So that's all jam-packed in the newsletter. So if you haven't gotten it, please go ahead and get it on the link below. Okay, we've got a few other things that I want to mention. So first, I want to say a big thank you, and that is to Donna Phillips, because she bought me another coffee. Yay! I was so excited. So for Donna, this is coffee number 4. So we've got our nice little thank you for her, and I'm going to be pinning it up on my wall here. So I've got her with Donna plus 3 times 3 over there. So I'm going to replace that one and put Donna number times 4. So awesome. Oh, great. I'm glad. 1 Minute Tip said Great info on the newsletter, Miss Nancy. Awesome. Yay. I'm glad you like it. Yeah, we tried to put all kinds of information on there, but I think that the most one that I think people will really kind of appreciate is having that listing now that, you know, Joann's is kind of going away. So a lot of people, I feel like, kind of stressing and struggling as to where they're going to be getting the fabric. And that kind of depends on where you live. So some people may have some nice little quilt stores by them, but some people don't. I know we don't down here. We don't really have a quilt store. It's kind of further up north, which is a little bit of a drive, but you know, we've got to be creative and find new ways to get stuff. So that's what we do here. That's how we roll. We just kind of go with the punches and figure it out together. Okay, so let's see. I see a couple of people have already looked at the description and have downloaded. Yeah, there's a couple of things that you can download totally for free. I'll give you a little bit more information on that later because I really want to jump into some of this stuff. But Donna says she's downloaded the free coloring book. Yes. And yes, I've made it available for you. You can print them out, give them to the little ones. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a few. But let's jump into this because I want to make sure that I have enough time to get everything going here. Okay, let me see if I missed anything else in terms of announcements. I think we've got everything. Now, last week, we did a little bit of stuff with kind of showing you guys the bunny applique that we did and what you can do for that. But we also kind of played around with the sewing machine, and I talked about the Madame Sew Ultra Presser Foot set. And it was one specific foot that we were looking at, and it was called the flower foot. And this is kind of what it looks like when it's not on the machine. So you can see here, it's a pretty big foot, big little accessory here. And we were able to kind of play around with it. And I was giving you some ideas on what you can do with that foot, and really a lot of things that it can help you out with in terms of like buttonholes and things. So really great ideas, but it was a lot of fun playing with this foot, and I think you guys really enjoyed that. So if you missed that, that was last week. You can go back and check out that video because that was a lot of fun, and I kind of just played around with the different decorative stitches on my machine, and you saw like the different stitches that it was able to do. So a lot of fun on that. And so all of that information is out there. So today, I just kind of wanted to do a different type of thing. We haven't done one in a while, so I wanted to go ahead and play with what's called the disappearing 4 block. And so this is what it looks like, and I'll kind of get some of this stuff out of the way here. This is a little block that I'll be teaching you how to make. You can make some really nice little quilts with that, and I'll tell you my little journey on how I kind of looked at this and then played with different fabrics, and you're going to see a completely different look to it. So this is one block here, and then once you have all your blocks together, you can kind of, you know, put them together, and it makes a really beautiful quilt or a lap quilt, or, you know, I mean, there's so many things you can do. A wall hanging. It's really gorgeous. I love how the design kind of moves around, and as you kind of look at it on a different angle, like it's totally different. Like you can see all of these, once you've lined up all your blocks, all of these would kind of look at a diagonal here. I mean, it's really gorgeous, and you can just kind of play with it. There's so many things to do, and it's super easy to make. So I will show you how to make that. Now, this is the block that we're going to be making today. I'm going to continue making a few more blocks, and I can give you some tips on how you can really just bang this project out in like an afternoon. Like, it's super simple. But let me show you what the difference is. So I kind of really like this block here. I love the fabrics, the way they kind of complement each other. And I wanted to give an example of how picking fabrics really makes a difference on any quilt. Like, you can have a simple quilt. Let's say you're just doing a 4-patch, And you can do it with different fabrics and it completely looks different, even though it's the same quilt. And I really think that it's important that you audition different colors when you're picking your fabrics, because it can really change the look of your fabric. And I'm going to give you an example of that. So right here, we have a simple black and white fabric. Now, what I ended up doing was picking a solid color here, and then I picked a fabric that had some type of a design. Sometimes you want to do that because if you have too much fabric that has way too many designs on there, you kind of lose the actual pattern itself. And let me show you what I mean. So here's a nice black and white pattern. You've got some solids and you have some prints, right? Let me bring this over here where you're gonna see. You're gonna see here, and I don't know if the camera shows it. I think it does. You're gonna see some patterns on all of the colors. And so here, I kind of like the colors and the brightness of it. It was pretty cool. But as I looked at it really close, you kind of lose a little bit of the design itself because the fabrics themselves are kind of busy. And this one's kind of light. Like there, I've seen really busier ones with like flowers and things like that. Sometimes when you choose a fabric that's a little too busy and you're trying to just do some type of block with it, it kind of loses itself within the block because of the fabric that you selected is sometimes just a little bit too busy. So I think on the camera it doesn't look too bad because you got it high up and you don't see too much of it because the colors are kind of light. But let me bring in a darker one so you could see it. So here I've got a darker color. You still kind of see it, but again, the fabrics are a little bit busy and it really doesn't accent the pattern as much. So if you think about this, you can have several blocks and once you put that all together, sometimes you kind of lose that pattern and you are not really able to see the design itself. Although the colors themselves are really nice and bright, sometimes because they're just so busy, you can kind of lose a little bit of it. And if you really want to accent what the block is doing, then you may want to kind of opt for maybe doing a solid with a print versus having two prints, right? So that's just something that, you know, you want to play with, and you can totally see. Now, this is the exact same block, but you can totally see just looking at them, and I'll try to put them so you can see all three together here. You can totally see like the difference. You can see how, you know, maybe one is like a bright fiesta type color, and so the other ones, you know, they're colorful and playful, but this one's like a little bit more serious. It's a little bit more calm because it has that nice solid that really, it kind of moves your eyes. Instead of looking at the fabric and your eyes are so blown out by the colors themselves, this one kind of has a more calming effect. And it helps your eyes kind of focus on the design itself. And so it can kind of really outline what the pattern is doing. So I just kind of wanted to kind of give you that tip here a little bit because I kind of play around with different things. Like I usually use a lot of my scraps when I'm trying to kind of play with the block and see, you know, what it's going to look like. And I don't really use really nice fabrics because I'm just kind of playing and seeing if I'm going to like it and things like that. And so I'll use things like this. But then once I decide, okay, I really want to make this, then it's time to decide, okay, what colors do you really want? You know, what kind of feeling do you really want to have on that pattern? So if you're thinking bright fiesta, you know, if I had maybe a solid yellow or a solid green, I probably would have changed that up and do that. But I kind of really liked this calming effect that I got and how my eyes kind of really focused on the black and white. And I think black and white quilts, when they pick those designs, I think that's what it kind of does. It really kind of calms you down and just makes you focus on the design of the block itself. Now, it does kind of really point out any errors that you may have on here. Because it is a solid black, it will point some of those out. So you do have to be a little bit careful and take a little bit more time when you're putting stuff together like this. So this is what we're going to be doing today, and I'm going to show you how easy it is because it's so super easy, simple. There is one piece that, you know, it will really help you to practice and kind of making your points and hitting them right when you want to, and I'll kind of just go through some of that as we go along. So let me just set up here. I'm going to, let's see if there was anything else I missed. Let me just set up a couple of things and then we'll get right into it. So I'm going to slide my machine over here. See if I can bring the cords over. Okay, kind of bring it over to the side here. I do have my little sew cam on here, so I think that's all set up. I do have my little trusty ironing board, and if I can bring some of this over here, I've got, here's just a stack. This is just a stack of my little charm packs here, and you can see I've got all kinds of colors going on here, but we're going to work with just the black and the white. So for a complete quilt, you probably are going to need 2 charm packs. You're going to need a charm pack with possibly a solid. If you're looking to do this exactly like this, you're going to need a solid color charm pack, and Kona has a whole bunch of those that you can pick from, and there's others that are available out there as well. And then you're going to pick a charm pack that has a specific design that you like, and we're going to kind of stick with the black and white, so we're going to continue with these 2. Donna's asking, what's the name of the block? Is it a quilt block from the card set? Actually, it is not, Donna. I thought that I was going to find that block in the card block set, but they didn't have it. But it is called a disappearing 4 block. That is the name of it. Now, we've done some before. And Robin's saying it's the disappearing 9 patch. That is a different block, actually. We're going to be doing the disappearing 4 block. I did show the disappearing 9 block, maybe last year sometime. I really don't remember exactly when it was. We did do the 9 patch. This one is the 4 patch. So it's kind of similar, but a little bit simpler, I think. So it allows you to just use 2 charm packs, right? You want a solid and you want a pattern, or depending on the look you want, you know, you can have 2, but you'll have to, you know, kind of figure out what you want your quilt to look like. And the first thing you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and you're going to do a 4 patch. Super, super simple, right? Then from there, I'm going to show you what to do, but I'm going to go ahead and remake this so you guys can see it from scratch. So let me move some of this over. So I'm going to need 2 of these, and I'm going to need 2 of the solids. And I'm kind of picking from my scrap here, so I'm hoping these are all cut to some size here. Looks like I had some leftover fabric, and it looks like I kind of just cut them up to be charm packs, and it looks like these 2 are going to work. Okay, so again, just to start, you're just going to do a simple 4 block. So I'm going to line up my fabrics here, right size together. Just going to put it right on top here. And remember, if you're working with these little charm packs, you know, they have these edges here that are, you know, they pinch the edge here, so it's going to be not a straight line. So you just kind of want to like center it and make sure you're kind of covering as much as you can on that. But it's basically just the 2 fabrics together, right size together. And let's come over to my little sewing machine. Now, I'm using my old sewing machine. It's just the Brother HC 1850. It's a really low cost machine. I've had it for years and years, and I love the machine. It works. I do have other machines, but this one kind of works for me, and you know, it's all I need for right now. Let me just move this over to the back here. This is a pretty good machine. It's hasn't really let me down much. You know, it's pretty nice and sturdy, and I'm able to get a lot of projects done. I do have my embroidery machine. It's the SC1900 that also sews, but I think it's great. Donna says, what is the little bunny piece behind you on the yellow fabric mug rug? Oh, this one. It's a mug rug. This is a mug rug. Yeah, I made this, oh gosh, maybe a year or two ago. It's a cute little mug rug just for Easter, you know, just wanted to put it out there. And then in the back, I've got some little Easter colors. So I believe, I'm trying to remember where I got this from. It's one of those in the hoop patterns that have the mug rug. Gosh, I don't remember where exactly I got it from. It could have been, I'm not sure. I'd have to look it up. I'd have to look up to see where I got it from, because it's been such a long time ago. I made that. I kind of just dug up some stuff since, you know, Easter's like around the corner. So I dug up a couple of little things that I thought would be cute to kind of put on my craft room, because, you know, they make me happy. So, oh, I'm glad you like it. Thank you. Okay, so let's bring up our little sew cam, because I wanted to also let you know about a couple other little things. So I know last week we talked about the Madame Sew flower foot. I also mentioned the 32-piece set, and this is it here. And I just kind of wanted to show you what other feet are available in that 32-piece set. So we've got, besides the regular J-foot that comes with this machine, which is what I normally would just use, it's a pretty good foot. And, you know, it doesn't really have any markings. I kind of marked it myself as to where the 1/4 inch is, so I just kind of have it. And I did that, and it's, I don't know if you guys could see it, it's a really little mark that I made with a little Sharpie right on the foot, and you'll see 2 markings on there. And so I did that just for myself, so I know where the 1/4 inch is. And you'll kind of, as a tip, once you get whatever machine you're getting, you know, you're gonna want to mark either your machine, or you're gonna want to put maybe some tape down or something that will kind of remind you where that 1/4 inch is, because maybe you're sewing and then maybe you get busy, you know, because life happens and you don't have a chance to sew, and then you get back into your sewing room and you're now able to sew, and you kind of forget where was that 1/4 inch exactly. And so you'd have to go through the whole process again of trying to figure it out. So you can either put some tape down, there's tons of tools that are out there. Or you can just kind of mark up your foot if you don't have a straight stitch machine or a 1/4 inch foot. But the Madame Sew 32-piece set does have a 1/4 inch quilting foot and a 1/4 inch foot. And then they have this a 1/4 inch quilting foot with a guide. So these are the other 2 that they have that are 1/4 inch foots, which are pretty good. I tried them out. They're not that bad. But I was really eager to try this one with the edge. And let's put our sew cam up so you can kind of get a better look at that one, because that's what I have on my sewing machine. Okay. Let me see if I can get this light on. If I can turn this light on. One more time. There we go. Okay. So, a little dark there, but I think it's okay. So this is the foot that I'm talking about. Let me just take it off so you can get a better look. So it's just a 1/4 inch foot, but it has this nice little edge here. And it kind of keeps the fabric from moving around. And so it allows you to kind of really maintain that 1/4 inch by kind of allowing you to bump up the fabric against this edge right here. And then you can kind of maintain that 1/4 inch, especially if you're doing like long binding strips or something that kind of is long and you need to maintain that 1/4 inch. I found that this was pretty helpful because, let's face it, I mean, once you do really long stretches of fabric, you know, you could kind of sway a little bit here and there. So I thought, you know what, this just might help me when I'm doing some of that. So I went ahead and used it, and I thought it was fantastic, and I just want to show you that, and then I'll show you how it sews. Yep. Okay, so there is the 1/4" foot with the guide, and here are my 2 fabrics. And so I'm just going to kind of bump this down. My needle is nice and centered. So now this is one thing you have to look at, and it depends what machine you have, right? So this specific machine, this is the Brother HC 1850. When you turn on the machine, it automatically defaults your needle to the left. And then you'd have to change whatever stitch you want to get this needle to the center. In this particular machine, it starts off with 0, 0, meaning the needle's on the left, and I just change it to 0, 1, which brings the needle to the center. So you'll see here, you'll see how the needle just changed. I don't know if you guys can see that. And then I'll change it to 1, and that kind of moved it. You saw how it kind of jotted over to the center here. And that's just to make sure that your needle is going to hit this center mark. Otherwise, you can break a needle. Ask me how I know. So don't forget to make sure your settings are correct before you get started. So you want to make sure that that's hitting in the center. So then I'm going to go here, and I just kind of lift just a little bit to slide my fabric underneath, and my fabric's going to be bumping up against the guide right here. And then I'm going to go ahead and just sew that here. Here we go. Now, if you decide that you want to make a quilt out of this, you may want to just chain piece. And what I mean by chain piece, if you're kind of new to sewing, so chain piecing is just basically continuing to do the same movement without having to take your project off the machine and start again. So we know that the first step is to go ahead and get the 2 fabrics and line them up right size together, right? And so we know I'm going to need 2 of those. So we've already kind of sewed the first one here. So without me taking this off my project and, you know, then coming back with the new one and putting it in again, you can just chain piece. So I will just leave a couple of threads. It's completely off. It's away now. It's going to continue to move towards the back of the machine. And then I'm just going to line up my new piece and put it under here and bump it up against the guide right here. Now, what's the big deal about chain piecing and why would you want to do it? Well, it kind of saves you a little bit of money. So if you think about every time you pull a project off your machine and cut your threads, you're literally wasting thread because you're having to pull it out and then cut the thread and then bring another one in and then pull it out and cut the thread again. So all of that pulling out and cutting threads, if you add it up and you're making a really big quilt, can lead to a lot of thread that kind of just ends up in the garbage. So sometimes it's really good to chain piece because it does help to kind of maintain your flow as you're doing your project, but it also helps you to save a little bit on thread, and it kind of helps you work a little bit faster. At least not when you're yapping away like me, right? Okay, so let's get to this one. I'm going to go ahead and do the second one. So I'm going to go ahead and push this one through. And that's it. Let's lift up our needle. I'm going to go ahead and take it off and cut my thread here. Now, let's take a look at this. Let me see if I can put it back in here so you guys can see it. So this is the 1/4 inch that I got here. And it looks pretty consistent. So I would say that the guide did work. And let's look at the second one. You lift this up here so you guys can see it. Again, oops, sorry. Move that on my own there. Looks pretty consistent in terms of the 1/4 inch. So I'm pretty happy with how it works. And now I'm just going to grab my little snips and I'm going to go ahead and cut the thread that's connecting the 2 together and just cut that off. You can get all kinds of little gadgets that they have out there to help you cut your threads. They have these little stands that you can put your little old rotary blades in there, and then just have that on your table so that you can cut the threads, and it does help you move a little bit faster. So that's pretty cool if you have one of those. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take our 2 squares that we have just finished sewing, and I'm going to bring down my little ironing board, and I'm going to bring this over here so if you guys could see that. Let me just move my sewing foot out of the way. Now I always like to iron, press my seam, have it nice and set, and then what you want to do is you want to move your fabric over, and I just kind of like brush it with my fingers, and I want my seam to be away. I want the seam to go to the dark side of the fabric because I don't want my seam to show. So I moved my seam to the back, so you have this on the dark side here, and I just press it nice and flat here. And then I'll do the same thing with the second one. So let me just grab this. Again, set your seam. I hope you can hear my voice as you're doing it, right? Set your seam. Don't forget to set your seam. It's really important to do that, and it really helps. Oh, Donna says, I appreciate your visual and audio presentations. So many tutorials are poor quality, and I usually get out of those quickly. Yeah, you are a person. Oh, thank you, Donna. Thank you. I'm glad. I'm so glad that I'm able to help. Yeah, it really is a little bit difficult for people to kind of do that. I like to kind of take my time to make sure, you know, because what's the point of trying to teach you something if you can't really see what I'm doing, right? So I'm really happy that you guys enjoy that. Takes a little bit to set up, but you know, I think it's worth it in the end. Okay, so again, I'm just kind of pressing with my fingers, and I'll grab the iron and push that seam out, right? Make sure that that is nice and flat. And then if you have a little clapper, you can use that too. But I'm going to show you a different clapper that I'm going to be using today. I'm excited to show you that one. So these are just the 2 little pieces. I'm going to push this over and pull it back, because now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and put these together. So I'm going to alternate my fabric so it looks like a little checkerboard, right? And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to sew this together. So what we're going to do now that our seams are nice and flat and they're both pressed to the dark side, if I bring this fabric together, you're going to see, now see if I can bring it here so you could see that. Let me move it this way so you can see it. You're going to see here, seam going to the dark side on this side, and the seam is going to the dark side on this side. So you're able to now nest your seams. So if I put them together, you can bump up the seams against each other. And so if I kind of open this up, and if I have this straight, let me see if I can fix it here. You want to try, and let me show you what you don't want. This is what you don't want. Let's say you put these together, and here you are, you've got your seam here and your seam here, so they're not even nested. So you want to make sure that you bring them together and nest them together. So you want this to like this, lined up right against each other. And that's easier to get done when your seams are going the opposite way, because you're pushing the 2 fabrics against each other. So you have that fold that's in the way. And so when you have that fold, it kind of like locks the 2 into place. And then that's when you'll want to just go ahead and sew them together. So let me just do that here where I can see a little bit. And for me, it's a little bit easier to just kind of hold it like this. I put them together. I'll do my edges on the outside, and then I kind of lay it down, and I just lift up the middle and take a little peek. And so when I take that little peek, I'll see if I can do it over here. Let me see if you can see that. I take the little peek, then I get to see, is it nice and nested? Yes, it is. So then I go ahead and I put that down. Now, if you want to pin it, it'd be a great way. If you've got some fork pins, those would work really nicely. But I'm just kind of willy-nillying it here just for time's sake. So I'm going to go ahead and just do it like this and hope that I get to hit it right in the center. Let's see. I'm going to try this out. Okay. So here we are. We're going to use our guide. Got lots of little threads here on the edge here. And I'm going to go ahead and put this down. And just make sure that your fabric is nice and flat. Okay. Let me find my little sewing foot here, and I'm going to go ahead. Nice and straight. And one thing that you can do before you get there, just take a little peek. Make sure to see, am I hitting it? Is it going to go in the right direction? If not, maybe you have to give it a little stretch. You may have to maybe stretch it. Maybe your feet dogs pulled the fabric a little bit too much, and so you have to stretch it a little bit, and that's okay. Whatever you have to do to get that seam right in place. And so now I'll go ahead and do that, and then I'll check here on the edges, make sure my fabric's nice and lined up, and then I'll just continue. Okay. And let's open this up and see how we did. Oop, there we go. Okay. Can we see that? Can you guys see that? There we go. Not bad. Perfect here. See how my two solid fabrics are hitting that point? Perfect. So now I'm going to go ahead and come back over to my iron. Okay. And what you want to do is go ahead and make sure that you get a nice flat seam on this. So I'm going to go ahead and iron this here first, set that seam, make sure it's nice and flat. Now I haven't cut any of my threads, but I'll do that in just a minute. And then I'm going to go ahead and open this up, push that out with my hand, and then I'm going to go ahead nice and flat. And I'm going to show you, I've got this little blocker here, and I'm going to let that go for a minute, just so I can reach it over. I've got this blocker here. Now, I've got this block. It's from Jackson's Woodwork LLC. It's a family-owned company. My sister actually gifted this to me. She found this. I think they're a company on Etsy. And I thought it was, a little awkward at first, but I kind of like this. If you are doing different types of blocks, this is a nice little clapper to have because it will kind of absorb all of the heat for the entire block in one shot. So normally you have a clapper that's kind of just long, and so you're kind of moving it around as you're pressing your seams for it to absorb the heat. And then the clapper, what it does is as it absorbs that heat, it kind of makes it a little bit crisper, and it allows your fabrics to kind of relax in place, and so you get that nice flat seam. So it's kind of nice to do that, and then you can kind of just lift it, and they have different sizes too, and so it allows you to now get that nice flat seam here. See how it's nice and flat? Now if I didn't have the clapper, this would not fall into place. So I like how this, I can lift it here if I want it a little bit, but it really kind of stays in place, and that's kind of what you want, because that's going to help you later on as you continue to do different projects. So here we are, we've got our nice little 4 patch here, and we're ready to go on to the next step. So let me move this over to the side because I'm kind of limited on some space here. So I'm going to move this off. I'm going to kind of move my iron over, and I'm gonna kind of move this over. Oh, Faker McFake's asking, where did I get the clapper from? This is from a company. It's called, again, jacksonswoodworkllc.com. So if you go to their website, and I believe they have an Etsy shop as well, but it's Jackson's Woodwork, and it's Jackson's with an S. Yes, Jackson's with an S, Woodworks with an S, LLC. And so you'd be able to purchase it there. And, you know, I think it's pretty neat. If you're a person that likes to do different blocks, I think it's really helpful. They do have different sizes. This is one of the bigger sizes. They have smaller blocks available as well. But I think it's really helpful to be able to do that and, you know, just kind of absorb it all in one shot and not having to keep moving the clapper around as you keep kind of ironing every piece of the block. So I kind of like it because I can kind of iron it, put that clapper on there, and just set it to the side and move on to something else while it's doing its thing. So I think that's pretty cool. Okay, let me just cut a couple of my threads here because this long thread is really getting on my nerves. So I have to get that out of the way. Okay, so the next thing you want to grab are two things. First, you want to grab a little ruler. Right, and you want a ruler. This one is only 12 inches by 6, and it's an OmniGuard ruler. You can get this anywhere. If you have like a 5 by 10 or something, you just need it to be able to cover your block. So you don't need anything really special. Now, one of the things that you don't need, but if you have it, it is so helpful. Is one of these little spinning, rotating mats. Now, I've got different ones. I've got one from Martelli. That one was kind of pricey, but I do have the OmniGuard mat that you can pick up as well. And I think this really helps because we're going to be making a couple of cuts and then we're going to be turning it as well. And so when you turn it, you know, you don't want the pieces to kind of move around, but I'll tell you what to do if they do. So let's get started on this. So the first thing I'm going to do is just kind of line this up, make sure it's nice and straight to me. Now, I prefer to kind of cut as I'm standing up, but it's a little difficult for me to do that right now. So I will have to kind of just sit down and do it. But if you are in your craft room and you're trying to do this, make sure that you're either standing up or looking over so you can really see, because the point for this is to really make sure that everything is really nice and straight. So I'll just kind of get up just a little bit and maybe a little awkward. Maybe I might go off camera a little bit, but hopefully you guys could see. Alrighty, so first step, let me move this over a little bit more to the side so you guys have a better view. I've got all this clutter everywhere. Okay, so on here, you've got your little 4-patch. And so what I'm gonna do is just kind of put maybe the center of my ruler. Is probably the easiest way to do it. And what I want to do is I want to line up a couple of things, right? So I've got my center right here, right? And so this center, I'm just going to put right on any place in my ruler. I like to kind of try to do the center. So I'm going to kind of go right about there. You want to make sure that that point is right in the middle. One thing you want to make sure of when you're looking at this is you want to line up your seams. And this is where, you know, having that little guide and the 1/4 inch foot, or making sure that you're making a nice, easy little 1/4 inch seam allowance and making sure that that's nice and straight, this is where it's going to come in handy, because you're cutting based off of the seam allowance that you made. So when you line up your ruler, you're going to be lining this up here. So you're looking at your seam going this way, and then you're also looking at the seam going this way. So you've got your little crosshairs is basically what it is. And that's why I think it's a little better if you can kind of just get up and kind of look over. And you want to make sure that your ruler is really on that crosshair so that it's nice and straight. But what you're going to be doing is you're only cutting an inch off of each side. So I line it up this way and I take a look. It looks good to me. It looks like all my seams are right on the line. And if they're not, you may want to kind of go back to your trusty little seam ripper, that little friend of yours, undo them, and then try to kind of hit that 1/4 inch seam allowance again, because it's really important for this to be straight. This will help you to be really successful in finishing this block. So once I know that my crosshairs are aligned and my seams are straight, I'm going to go ahead and move my ruler now to the 1-inch mark. And once again, I'm going to line this up and make sure that I am within my seams right here. So I'm going to go ahead here and I'm going to just take a look, making sure my seam allowance is on that 1-inch mark coming here, but it's also on the 1-inch mark going across this way. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take my rotary cutter and I'm going to hold down my ruler here. And I'm going to make sure that I make my first cut. You're making sure that your line all the way down is right on that seam as well. You know, if it is off, go ahead and move it just slightly. And then you want to hold that down with your hand, grab your rotary cutter, and then go ahead and press it down against the ruler and give it that first cut. Okay, so you've just made your first cut. So now what you want to do is you want to go ahead and rotate this either to the right or to the left. It really doesn't matter, but just rotate it around and then carefully lift up the ruler because we're going to make a second cut. Now, you want to try to not move your fabrics around, but if for whatever reason, maybe it shifted a little bit, you want to just kind of look and just kind of shift it right back and try to line them back up again. Just making sure that that seam allowance is still good. And you're going to go back again here, drop your ruler down again, and again, you're going to look at your seam allowance and make sure your seam allowance is against that 1-inch mark going all the way down. And then I like to look across as well, just to make sure that nothing has shifted. And that's why the little rotary mat is really important, because it really helps to keep things together and not move around as much, at least till you do the cuts. Now you're doing 4 of these cuts. We've already done 1. We're going to be doing the second cut and we're going to do 2 more after that. So let's go ahead and do the second one. Moving this here, making sure everything's nice and aligned. Ooh, I just tapped it with my nails. Here we go. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do the next cut. And then I'm going to turn this one more time. Here we go. Carefully lift up your ruler, trying not to move anything. And then once again, come back around and line it, that center point on that 1-inch mark again. So let's set that down here. Go. Checking your crosshairs all the way around. You're looking up, down, side to side. Make sure that your cuts are right on the seam. And then just kind of check what you have cut already. Make sure it has not moved around as much. Anything that's under the ruler, you really don't care about if it moved. So like I know this fabric down here moved just slightly, but it really doesn't matter because I'm on the seam line here. This one's already cut and it's under the ruler, so I don't have to worry about that side. I'm really just cutting on this side. So let me go ahead now. Give it that third cut. And then now we're going to work on the final cut. Whoop. Try to move that back. And turn this one last time to the left. You can see all my pieces kind of shifted a little, so I'm just going to try to put them as best I can. And then I'm going to just put this right on top again on my center seam there, right on that 1-inch mark. And I'm going to stand up again so I can just see over that. There we go. Looking at that center seam, trying to make sure everything is lined up. And if it moved around, it's okay. You just have to make sure that it lines up on that 1-inch mark. Make sure your seams are right on that 1-inch mark. And if you need to just kind of move it around a little bit, it's okay. You can see my bottom one here shifted. Here we go. So a little bit tricky. You do want to take your time on this because this will really help you in the end. Now, if you are slightly off, it's okay. It could be a little bit forgiving because you can eat that up in your seam allowance. Okay, so let's go ahead now and make our final cut here. Okay. And there we go. So I'm going to go ahead and take that ruler off. And then let's see what we have here. So if I kind of separate this here, this is what you are left with. And so you have all of the pieces that you're going to need to make this block. All we have to do now is move some things around and then put everything back together again, right? It's just like a little puzzle. So the first thing you want to do is grab your two bottom squares here, and you're just going to move them. And then you're going to move these two as well. Just kind of switch them around. Okay, and then you're going to want to take your center square and you're just going to rotate it 90 degrees. And there you go. That's your block. Now you just have to put it back together again. And so this is what you're going to do now, is now in putting this back together, you're just going to kind of work going row by row. So we're going to put this row together, then we're going to put this row together, and then you're going to put this row together, and then we're going to sew these together, and we'll end up with our block. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to work this way. I like to kind of lay out my pieces and leave them here because I don't want to confuse myself going back to the sewing machine and then forget and sew the wrong side. So I like to kind of lay it out here, and then I know this is the side that I need to sew. So I'm going to bring this just like that over to the sewing machine. And let's get the little sew cam out. Make sure that my fabrics are nice and straight. I'm going to get them underneath here. Again, I've got my little sewing guide. Got my threads here to the back. They keep kind of crawling to the front on me. There we go. And then I'll go ahead and stitch that up. There we go. And now I'll bring it back over to my little table here, and I'm going to open it up. And I know that I'm going to want to press this over to the side. Now what I'm going to do, just to kind of save some time, is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stitch these two together. Normally I like to kind of bring this over to the iron and flatten this out, but it really doesn't matter just yet because now we're just going to attach the other side to it. So let's go ahead and flip this together here. And pull that in. And then bring this over to the sewing machine. And let's pull these together. Got my little guide that's helping me, which is pretty cool. There we go. And we're going to open that up. So that's going to be my first piece here. Okay. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to work on the next row. So for the second row, I'm going to do the same thing. Right sides together. Just collapse it on top with that center block, which is pretty small. So I'm going to kind of flip it upside down because I want the small block to be right on top. I don't want to sew that with the feet dogs underneath it. I'm going to flip it this way, and then I'm going to kind of put that in here. And this is a really short little seam here. There we go. So you got that really nice 1/4 inch seam. Just makes it really nice and consistent. And so then I'll open this back up again. And now I'm going to do right sides together on this side. Bringing those two together. Flip that over and bring that to my sewing machine as well. Okay. There we go. Now on this one, I have my seam right here sticking up. So I want to make sure that I tuck it underneath, and I want it to go underneath the foot. I don't want it to flip over on me. So you want to make sure that you're keeping your eye on your seam allowances as well. There we go. And this could have been moved just a tad, but I think we'll be okay. Alrighty. So now let's pull this out, and that is our second row. I do have some threads to cut here. There we go. Get rid of some of these threads here. Since they're white, it kind of just shows everywhere. Okay, so we've got our bottom row, we've got our middle row, and now I'm just going to do the top row here. Again, same story here, just right sides together. Bring it to your sewing machine. Make sure it's nice and lined up. Just kind of shove it with your fingernails if you have to. Sometimes that's a little bit easier to do. Move my threads out of the way. There we go. Okay. And you can see here, I'll try to like bunch the fabric over, but because of the guide being there, it kind of really helps it keep aligned, so it doesn't really shift as much. It's pretty cool. And then I'll go ahead and lift that up and lay it back down. Make sure I'm going the right direction, and then I'm going to take my final piece here and put that on top, and then bring that to the sewing machine. So make sure that's nice and straight on top here. Finger with my nails. There we go. I think that's straight now. Okay, let's do this last one here. Okay. All right. And I've got my sewing foot. Whoop. There we go. Sewing foot was a little stuck on a cord there, so. Okay, so we've got our 3 pieces now, all ready to go. And so now, this is probably the hardest part, and this is where you really have to pay attention to the seams. Now all we need to do is kind of put these together, one on top of the other, so right sides together. You're looking at the seams, matching them up, and this, at this point, if you need to use pins, go ahead and do so that you hit the seams when you're putting this together. And then just kind of bring that over. I'm going to kind of wing it since we're kind of running out of time here. I'm going to go ahead and put this in. There we go. And then what I like to do is, as I get closer, and you can see my thread got caught up in here again, but there it goes. As I get closer, I just kind of take a peek. Am I going to make it? And it looks like I am. So I'm good here. And then I just check all of my seams, and I check to make sure that I'm going to hit the points. And then I'm going to just make sure it goes underneath. Make sure my other seam goes underneath. And if you're not sure, you can lift up your presser foot and then kind of set it back down. And just continue. And then I want to check my next seam. And let's see, am I going to make it here? I may have to give it a little bit of a stretch if not, but it looks like I am. So I'm going to go ahead and leave that. Got a thread here. We'll just leave it. There we go. Okay. Well, let's see how we did here. Let's open that up. Now, again, normally I'd like to iron it because that really helps. So let's just give it a quick little press because it makes me nervous when I don't iron it. So I'm going to stand up here for just a little bit. I'm going to just set my seams in place. And it just makes it easier when you lay it down again to kind of find where it is. And so here it are. And it looks like we hit those seams pretty well. So let me just bring this over and flatten this piece out. Can you guys see that? Okay, good. And this is where, you know, if you have that clapper, it's a good way to just kind of put that on here and get those seams nice and flat. Now move that out the way. And then we're going to go ahead and do our final piece here. So let's bring these together. Line that up. And remember, you can use the pins. They have fork pins that work really good when you're interlocking seams, or you can just use regular pins, just kind of do it at a diagonal. So that really helps. So I'm going to go ahead and just check out my seams here and just kind of eyeball it. Put these together, and I'll bring that over to my machine. So I'm kind of eyeballing it. If I wanted this to be perfection, I would use the pins and take my time doing it. So I'm just kind of doing it this way just to kind of save you guys some time here. And then as I get closer, I'm just going to take a little peek, see where I'm at in terms of my seams. Looks like I'm good, and you can kind of feel it as well. You can feel if you are right on the seam or not. And then you can kind of just keep going. Just want that seam to go underneath there. And then once I'm past that, I'm going to check my next one to see if that one is laying where I want it to go. It looks like it is. And then I'm going to have my final seam here on the end. So let's go ahead and do that. And then you're just checking the ends to make sure that your ends are nice and straight too. Just make sure they didn't kind of shift around and go a little wonky on you. Okay, this is the fun part. So now we've taken that out and we've got all our cutting done, all our sewing done. And now we're just going to give it a really nice press here. And again, we want to set those seams. I've got a lot of threads to cut here. So I have not cut my threads. It's kind of nice to kind of cut your threads as you go. So I'm just doing it this way to kind of save some time. Then I've got my little blocker here. Not so little, right? And I'll just kind of put that on top for a little bit. Donna's asking, Nancy, is your clapper 9x9 or 12x12 size? Let me just put it here. It is, looks like this is 9x9. This one is 9x9. Now, I also have two others. Don't know if I could reach it because they're kind of in the other side of my table here. And it looks like it's a 6x6 and maybe like a 4x4 is the other two. They kind of came like as a set. But like I said, my sister had gifted this over to me. So she's the one that found the person. And then she went ahead and sent it to me. So I'm going to go ahead now and iron this piece out. And let's see how this comes out. Give it a nice press, and you may want to just stay a little bit right in the middle because there are a lot of seams in that center. You've got that really small square and it's holding a lot there. So you want to make sure that you're really kind of giving it a good press, especially in that middle. And then I'm going to go ahead and grab this clapper and just put it on top. Let it do its thing there. And then that should give us yet another block. Now, like I said, if you're doing a bunch of these, and let's say you're going to be making a big quilt, you can do some chain piecing. That kind of helps to pull everything together. And it makes it a little bit easier But you're also going to want to square off your block in the end. And so here we are. Let me just get this out of the way. And so we have our nice little block. I just need to cut some threads here. And so it really makes that beautiful little design. And so I think it's really gorgeous because as you continue to add these on more and more, you start to get a little bit of that design on a diagonal as well. So it looks pretty neat. And so what you'll want to make sure of when you square these off, you're just going to kind of look and then maybe just trim off. It looks like I could trim off maybe about a slither, maybe about 1/8 of an inch here and 1/8 of an inch on the other side. And then that would make your block. So this kind of measures at, without me squaring it off, it measures at about 8.5. And you'll probably want to trim it to about 8 inches or so. I mean, depending on what sizes you want it to use, because you can certainly use, you don't have to use a charm pack. You can use 10-inch squares. You can do all kinds of different sizes with these. It really doesn't matter because you're going to be cutting them up and then putting them all back together again. So it makes a really quick little quilt block, and you can really make a beautiful table topper or a quilt or wall hanging. I mean, there's so many things you can make with this. It's just a really pretty design that can really go a long way. And it really helps when you pick out fabrics that can really help the design pop and stand out. So that's what I wanted to show you. Now, I want to show you one more thing because like, I think it was Donna, or it was a few of you that indicated you've already gone over to the description. And let me just move my iron a little bit away from me because it's kind of hot. And so you may have noticed that we are offering for the kiddos, and maybe for you too, right? You've got these nice little things here. Hold on a second. Let me just get myself a little organized here. Okay, so we've got two things for you. We've got this little easing, and we also have full-blown pages that they can color from. So the kiddos are gonna love these little coloring pages for Easter. Nice, keep them nice and entertained while maybe you're getting the lunch or dinner ready or doing some other task, or maybe even just sitting down and spending some time with them. I think that's super important. Okay, Donna says, what are you using your blocks for? Table topper placemat. Donna, I think I'm going to do a little table topper with that. I don't have, and the reason for that is the charm pack that I used was one that I had used for a different project. So I don't have a complete charm pack, but I had enough to be able to show you guys how to do the pattern. And I probably have enough for a little table topper. I won't really have enough for a full-blown quilt. So I'm going to go ahead and do the table topper with that one. And I'll probably finish that one up today because it goes pretty quickly, you know, once you're chain piecing and, you know, kind of do an assembly style, right? So basically you guys are able to download these free coloring pages. They are on the link below, so you can go ahead and do that. But we're also giving you guys the ability to get a free song. So if you go ahead and click on the link, you can download the stuff, and you'll be able to get a free song from our CD, the Crafting Tunes, and you're able to pick whatever song you want, or you can use the songs are 99 cents normally, so we're just giving you that for free, or you can use that as like a coupon to get the album if you're interested in doing that as well. And I'm going to just show you really quick once, because you've got two things. You've got the full-blown coloring pages, but you also have the little easing. And this is a thing, guys. This is out there. People like to have these little pocket, little notebook type book little things, and it's just really, really neat. Okay, so 1 Minute Tip says, one thing I don't know how that mini books gets folded. Well, I'm going to show you how to do that. And my hubby couldn't figure it out. Okay, no problem. I'm going to show you how to fold it. It's called easing, so it's pretty easy to do. So let's just grab it. So let's pretend that I've printed this out completely. This is what it'll look like, right? If you're doing the mini. So this is the mini one. All you're gonna do is you're gonna go ahead and fold it lengthwise. Go ahead and fold that. You're gonna find your fold here. And I'm gonna do it with you guys. Go ahead and find your fold. It's got some lines here in the middle. Try to line that out, line it up as best as you can. Give it a nice press there. And then you're gonna open it up and you're gonna fold it again going the other way. So let's go ahead and do that. Do that this way. Nice. And pressed. There we go. So you've got your two folds in. You've got your long way and you've got your short way, right? So now what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and do another fold. And we're going to bring this over here. So one more fold here. Okay. And so then you're going to open it up again here. Now you want to keep it where you have 4 pictures showing, and you want to grab a pair of scissors. And you'll notice on the printout there is a line that's right in the middle, but it doesn't go all the way to the end. So when you have it folded where you only see 4 pictures, you're going to see that line here and on the other side. And what you want to do is take your scissors and you want to cut just that line. So you're only cutting just one piece of it. You're not cutting the whole thing. You're just cutting right here where my scissors are. Okay, if you guys can see that, just up to there. Well, let's go ahead and cut that right on the line. And that's all you're cutting. See that, guys? That's the only thing you're cutting. So you're just doing that little opening right there. You're not cutting the whole thing. And then, let's see if I get this right here. So now what you're going to do, you're going to go to the first page or the cover where it says Happy Easter. And you're going to kind of lift this up. And you're going to put this first page with the little ducky here and put those two together. But you want to do that after you kind of folded it. So let's fold it this way. Hold that here. Then kind of pinch the middle and put the two together. That is now becoming the cover. And then you're just going to kind of let it fall into your hands because it's just going to go all together after that. And then all I'm going to do is kind of put it down and just kind of press it again. Make sure it's nice and lined up. And then give it one final little press here. If you want to use a ruler, you can do that too, because that kind of helps to line it up. And then that's it. You've got your little book. And so you'll have the little book, and it says Happy Easter Mini Coloring Book. And it opens up and says Easter is with family and friends. And then it says the joy of springtime begins. And then you fold it, turn it one more time, and it says there's joy and wonder in all you do. And then it says Easter is special, just like you. And that is it, guys. You've got your little book. So I think it's really neat. I think it's a nice little addition that you can have for your family, for friends, for kids, grandkids. They're going to love it. It's something you can kind of add to their little Easter basket or just give them something to do to get things going. So this is everything that you're going to get. You've got your little mini coloring book. You've got your full-size pages that you can get and you can download and get a free song. And then don't forget the newsletter, guys. If you haven't gotten that already, go ahead and download that too. And then that's about it. You've got all kinds of things that you're going to be able to download and get. And that's about all I have for you guys today. So these are all the other ones that I was able to do. So I've got a whole bunch of little small ones here. So we were able to put all these together. So I hope this will keep you guys busy on this Palm Sunday weekend. And then next weekend for Easter, you guys are all set up and ready to go. So go ahead and give them out to your friends, give them out to the little kiddos, and enjoy. And I hope you guys really have a fantastic weekend. Thank you guys all for tuning in. I really appreciate you guys spending the time with me. And we really love to craft with friends. So I think this is just a lot of fun. I really hope you enjoyed it. Donna says you're going to go use that mini book as an Easter card. Oh, awesome. You can add cash along with the coloring mini book and put into an envelope for the kiddies. Awesome. That's a great idea. So I hope you guys really enjoyed doing the little 4-patch disappearing block with me. And also you're able to download and get all these little freebies. And I hope you guys really enjoy it. So thank you again for tuning in and spending this hour with me. I really appreciate it. And I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. And I hope to be crafting with you soon. Bye, everyone.
Nancy with GiftsHQ makes crafting videos, creating with passion and a love for what she sews. Crochet, quilting, and sewing, crafting is what she knows. Making smiles one craft at a time. Your talent will grow with every stitch and every thread she weaves her art. Her hands create something special straight from the heart. And as the colors come alive, the joy spreads near and far.